What's up, racers? It's Jim D. It's already been a month since we ended round one, and a lot of things have happened on the track. Time to take a quick tour, and then let's get to the racing. To start us off, here's the updated start gate area. I've built a box of sorts on the back end to try to contain the camera shots, and I'm making use of the old party wagon tunnel as a housing for a new start gate camera. As you can see, I've started to attempt to cover up the wood infrastructure, and there's the river Anduin, and moving into Mordor, we've got the first of many Spoolheads 3D printed turns, this one the 90-degree crossover. Eventually, we'll get some Lord of the Rings art up on those bare walls. Continuing down pretty much the same lane track as before, we transition into the Hogwarts area and the second Spoolheads design with a 180-degree crossover, eliminating a Crash Racer's turn and actually lowering that entire platform by 6 to 9 inches. Obviously, still a work in progress. Hyperspacing to Hoth, this is the section I'm most excited about. The AT-ATs are now properly on a somewhat snowy south range, and moving through the hangar doors, they round the perimeter of Echo Base. Not completely done, as I've got to build the outer face of the cave and add some more snowy bits inside, but a far cry from what it used to be, and a Spoolheads Open Track 180, which runs much smoother now that the track's been lowered, and the Coroplast removed, and the Crash Racer's turn replaced. Turn 4 is now a wide diameter Spoolheads 90, leading into a tighter Spoolheads 90. Oh, I'm 3D printing some sweet car stands to help me organize and display the racing groups. Beastmaster appears to be taking a nap with someone's sombrero. Weird. Anyways, the final two turns are also Spoolheads prints, meaning we've completely replaced every Crash Racer's turn on the track. And coming down the final straight, we've eliminated the reverse funnel to extra wide track, opting for plain old Crash Racer straights for now, but I did paint up a pretty sweet finish line and threw in the other Ninja Turtles tunnel piece. Yep, and for now that cushion catch drawer is still there because, it works pretty well. Well, I've decided that's the major effort for now. We'll get to some racing, and I'll keep working on the track in between. We've got 46 groups of cars here in round 2, but I miscounted how many advanced and we're short one driver. That means the 4 runners up from the Wildcard Showdown are going to get another shot in a winner-take-all 4-car group. From Rust Belt Diecast, it's Miss Carey, Arlo Racing's Bobby Gray, Mr. Dark of Dubious Diecast, and from Golden Owl Racing, it's Grey Wizard. Here we go, the inaugural lap on the Savage Square 2.0 with Carey and Bobby up front, Dark and Wizard in the back. And there's that new start cam brought to you by Junkyard Joust. If you're going to joust with cars, should be in a junkyard, I guess, with babies and Klingons. Bobby Gray the first into Mordor, but that crossover quickly confuses things, putting Carey briefly ahead, but now Bobby mashes that accelerator. Grey Wizard fast now too, and that 180 doesn't hardly slow them down. They come to the final straight, and Bobby spins and takes a hit, but slides across the line for the first lap victory in the history of the upgraded track. Uh-oh, Miss Carey is on her roof, and Mr. Dark is also going to suffer a DNF stuck behind her. Here's the track in real time. Well, I thought the new track was smoother, but one lap in and we've already got a pair of DNFs. Arlo Racing on top. Dark moves up front with Miss Carey, Wizard, and Bobby in the back. Dark and Wizard take the initial lead, Carey unable to make use of that steeper lane. Second crossover and Wizard drops to the back. Mr. Dark leads, Carey spins, and Bobby puts her on her roof. It's a giant cluster in the back, and lap 2 will be Dark, Bobby, and Wizard. Carey awkwardly tries to drift through turn 5, and Bobby wasn't having any shenanigans. Double donuts for Carey, it may not be possible for her to recover. Bobby Gray extends his lead to 2. Bobby will start on the inside lane for the remaining 2 laps. He and Grey Wizard with a solid start. This time, Bobby spin drifts, but he manages it. Rounding the final turn, Bobby spins, Wizard spins, and wins! Ooh, Dark bounces off Bobby and gets hung up on the wall. Lap 3 will wind up a triple DNF. I had thought replacing the wider track with crash ratios straights would lead to smoother finishes, but apparently I was wrong. A big win for Grey Wizard, who vaults into the lead. Only Bobby will be able to compete for the top spot, but he'll need to beat Wizard by at least 2 positions. Bobby and Wizard share the front row for lap 4. Grey Wizard really slow on that crossover, and Bobby gets well in front. Wizard closes a bit, but Bobby maintains the lead. They enter the square and round it smoothly. All Bobby can do is stay out front, but Grey Wizard holds on to second, and that will be enough to secure the top spot in the group. That means literally every single one of the 7 entries from Golden Owl Racing has made it through to round 2. Grey Wizard edges out Bobby Gray in the first competition of 2024. We move on to the first official group of round 2 with Mr. Brown of Dubious Diecast in his 50-gram Batmobile that swept all 4 laps in round 1. Numbskull hits the track early in the first of 13 entries making this round. This one is the 79-gram Hot Wheels 40 that won a tight group in the late first round with 11 points. We've got a Rust Belter, so this group is guaranteed to be crazy. Andretti is in his 55-gram Turbulence that took second behind another of Numbskull's cars in round 1. And lastly, Grey Wizard will get right back on the track in his Hot Wheels 50 that took third behind Arlo and Numbskull cars, then finished runner-up to FPD in the Wildcard Showdown, but coming away with a win in today's runner-up elimination group. Brown and Numbskull starting up front, Andretti and Wizard in the back. Brown gets a solid start, but look at Numbskull blast down that hill leading into Hogwarts. Wizard advances 2 positions in turn 2 as Numbskull outpaces everyone through Echo Base. Andretti lags behind, and no one's gonna catch Numbskull. Brown flips and gets smashed by Andretti as Wizard takes second, and wow, Mr. Brown slides past the finish line, albeit off the track. He will earn a point for 4th. Numbskull may have won the lap, but the story here is Grey Wizard, who has an amazing double overtake in the new 180 crossover. Things got crazy on the final straight when Mr. Brown tried to rail grind, rolling and getting whacked by Andretti, wisely following traffic laws and stopping at the stop sign. Or on the stop sign. A fun opening lap sees Team Numbskull take the early lead. Lap 2 with Andretti and Brown up front, Wizard and Numbskull in the back. Andretti and Wizard jump out front, but Brown is right there. Dark and Numbskull close, and it's a side-by-side battle for second. Brown passes Wizard and challenges for the lead. Numbskull a little loose, and they separate. Numbskull and Wizard connect, and Wizard gets shoved up onto the wall for a DNF. Lap 3 is Andretti, Brown, and Numbskull. Tough break for Grey Wizard, he just got bullied that entire lap. Solidly in second entering turn 2, comes out side by side with Mr. Brown, who claims the inside lane into Echo Base, and Numbskull follows him through. He and Numbskull get together on the final straight, and Numbskull doesn't appreciate it, tossing Wizard up onto the wall. Andretti moves into a tie with Numbskull, but everyone's within 3. Grey Wizard assumes the pole with Andretti on the outside. Wizard and Numbskull pull out front. Nothing doing for Andretti in turn 2. Numbskull puts his nose on Wizard's rear quarter panel and he wrecks in turn 5. Wizard gets loose and stops. Ooh, he takes a hit from Andretti, and now Mr. Brown, and it's Andretti, Wizard, and Brown. Numbskull was able to pressure Grey Wizard entering the square, but took the sharpest turn on the track too shallow and wiped out. Andretti comes in like a wrecking ball, first sending Numbskull to the sub-track safety surface, then smashing past Grey Wizard to steal a win in pretty typical Rust Belt fashion. Andretti of Rust Belt takes a commanding 4-point lead heading into the final lap, everyone else tied up at 6. Last run of the day, with Numbskull and Grey Wizard earning a huge advantage starting from the front row. Can Grey Wizard keep his underdog streak alive? Slow up the turn 1 hill, and Numbskull pulls ahead. Wizard gains slightly, but Numbskull maintains. Through Echo Basin into the square, Wizard doesn't close the gap. Numbskull slides and takes a hit, but slides across the line just ahead of Grey Wizard, and that will finally be the first elimination for Golden Owl Racing. Mr. Brown is on his roof on the north side of the square, an astonishingly poor opening to round 2 for dubious diecast, after Brown put up a perfect 16 in the first round. All the wins split between Numbskull and Andretti, and they'll be the first drivers to advance to round 3. No wildcards this round, so you're either in or you're not. Congratulations to Numbskull and MG Andretti. This has been Jim D for Indiana Diecast Racing. Be sure to check in next time for more slightly above mediocre diecast racing and the continuing round 2 action of the Final Fantasy Fracas.